the state's electors should elect who they feel like. And frankly, no, that's not allowed. And there was a lot of Supreme Court challenges last election, 2016, about so-called faithless electors, where they basically didn't vote the will of the state. And I think there were 4 or 5 of them. Not that it made a difference to which candidate got elected, but they were taken to court by their respective states and charged with being faithless electors. They're basically not following the instructions of how electoral college voters are supposed to vote by their state rules. And they got into big trouble and big fines. Potential jail time. I'm not sure any did get jail time, but I think they got fined. And I think the political party who they faithlessly voted for paid the fines, because that's how things work in this country. I remember the owner of a company I used to work for got into serious trouble and major hundreds of thousands of dollars of fines, and he didn't pay a penny. His company went bust, but the company that bought his company basically got landed with all his personal fines, which a lot of us were rather annoyed about. So there's another £4,000 there, and we get $32,290 for completing the contract. Boom. Magic. Okay, let's go find our tractor. Oh, that's not good. The problem with the texture on this map is I really can't tell where our tractor's been. Looks like there's a small patch there that needs done. I'm fairly sure this is just a planter, it's not a cultivator planter. So we're not going to waste any seeds planting where we need to. Okay, tiny triangle there, then the bit over here. Let's get on with that. I'll probably turn the lights on. Oh, so round about here, I guess. Let's lower that. I mean, I do like these ground textures, but it's really difficult to see where you've been and not been. I think I said that last time we planted this. Okay. Play in the trees. Oh. There's my bits along here. Yes, we're not using up any wheat travelling down here. So that's the advantage of using a seeder that does not cultivate. That requires you to do the cultivation first. We should now start using up seed as we drive up this bit, because it's unseeded ground. Now, technically it's a little unrealistic on this setup, since we're using a very basic seeder, an incredibly basic tractor. It doesn't have the computer technology to tell the seeder when to drop a seed and when not to drop a seed, which the modern tractors and planters do. But it's kind of a quirk in farm sim. If your seeder cultivates, then it will basically cultivate the ground, rip up any seed that's in it, and put new seed down. Whereas if the seeder cannot cultivate, then you can drive over parts of the field that have already been seeded, and you won't use any seeder doing that. So on my other playthrough, because I'm using a seeder that cultivates as well, you waste seed when you finish off the field. It's getting dark. Ugh, we need to get all of this done and the field adjacent. I think after these two fields are planted, we can probably spend a little bit of time fertilising them tomorrow. I don't think fertilisation worries about ground temps. Yeah, for those wondering, I do have the Alpine DLC. I am probably going to replace the Lindner 90 on Oakfield Farm with a 130, just because that's now available. I still kind of need the four-wheel steering to get around that yard easily. But a 130 will let me do a little bit more work, although as I understand it, all of the tractors in the Alpine DLC do not support narrow tyres. Which can make using them as fertilisers a little bit tricky, because you're going to damage your crops if you're not careful. If you play base game, you can get away with not damaging your crops. Because what I can do here is I can run around with the solid fertiliser and immediately after planting. So there's no crops growing, I'm not going to damage the crops if I put a fertiliser layer through it. And also first stage of growth, where you've just got the green shoot showing, also doesn't destroy the crops. So you can run over it with a sprayer at that point and everything's fine and wonderful. It's just if you go in during the second and third stage of growth that you will destroy the crops. So it's possible to do everything with a tractor that doesn't support narrows, but it's probably a good idea to get one that does. But Oakfield also, we have now completed the harvest on that one. I've planted 2 fields with winter crop, and all of the other fields are coming up for spring crops, so we're not touching those until spring. So right now on that playthrough on Saturday, we are kind of done doing all of our groundwork. I might need to sell. I don't want to tip the potatoes that are currently in the tipper, because frankly I'm only going to have to put them back in again. But I might load it up to 100% and then go and sell all those, one load of potatoes, even at a bad price. Or not potatoes, sugar beets. But I need to free it up for a silage shipment, because we've got a ton of silage on the farm which we can now sell. I'm kind of concerned we don't have enough digestate to fertilise the rest of our fields. It's a little bit of a problem. So I like relying on the digestate as a fertiliser. And since we're not doing cows or pigs on that playthrough, we're not going to have access to manure. Well, we could have access to manure. That's the thing. I think there's a manure purchase point on the map, but I kind of like to avoid doing that. I can't remember who it was. I can't remember whether it was Farmer Klein or Virtual Farmer. Good grief, it's getting so dark. Who proved that basically with manure, digestate and slurry you use significantly more than you do with fertilizer. So while you might get you think slurry and fertilizer or manure are free, and yes they are, but they basically, their test showed that if you sell the manure and slurry to a sell point, like the BGA for example, you get paid for it. You get some digestate, which is free. In fact, it's better than free because you got paid for making it. But the money you get from selling the manure and the slurry will buy you more fertilizer than the manure and slurry would have covered a field. So if I say, let's say for example, I've got enough slurry generated to fertilize this field I'm currently working. If I took it down to the BGA and sold it, and then used that money to buy liquid fertilizer, I would have enough liquid fertilizer to do this field and half of field 39 as well. So it's, as he explained it, it's an opportunity cost. The chemical fertilizers are a cheaper option than the income you can get from the natural fertilizers. But sometime, I'm playing Lawfolds. I spent the first 3 days on that map buying fertilizer from the store, or buying manure from the store and spreading it on the fields. And I didn't actually have to do that, I just did. Because why not? Okay. We'll load this thing up again. And make it canola. I do like those buildings. It's getting way too dark. I can't see a darn thing. What do we do? We did oh crap, I've got some wheat on this field. That was good. Oh well. It is what it is, I guess. In the words of Millennial Farmer, let's lay down the canola and live with the mistake. The thing is, I think if so long as I harvest the canola first, it won't try and pick up the wheat, and I'll just get bits of wheat sitting out there being annoying. Okay, how's that? I still want to look and see how this map changed from the update a couple of weeks ago. So apparently the yards are far more fleshed out with more barns and silos and animal pens. So when we started this, the only farm that had anything was the chicken farm, where we're based. apparently there's now cows on the map and sheep on the map and horses on the map. As I said, when that happened, I don't want to mess with this game save since we're so far along. Okay. We have weeds, which is a bit annoying. Don't think I've got a weeder. I tend not to use weeders for the most part, so we just have to spray herbicide when we feel like it. So generally what I'll do is I'll leave the weeds growing for now, and we'll see how many we end up with on the field closer to harvest. There's a patch of wheat. And there's the other one. Problem was I lifted the seeder, I didn't turn it off. I did that, but I didn't turn it off, so we ended up with a little bit of wheat on this field. But yeah, if we don't have a lot of weeds, I'm not gonna be too bothered about removing them. We'll live with the yield we get. But if we get a rampant amount of weeds on our fields, then yeah, we'll get the herbicide out, we'll spray them all. So times like this, I miss the Challenger. Nice thing about the Challenger, it has side lights as well, so you've got 360-degree illumination around the tractor. This one, you've got the crescent at the front, the crescent at the back, and that's it. I can't see to either side. I mean, it's not bad, but yeah. When you do nighttime stuff with a tractor that has 360-degree work lights, kind of spoils you. I think it's the only mod tractor. Well, okay, it's the only mod tractor I found that actually has 360-degree work lights so far. There may be others, but it's the only one I've come across to date. How is it? 6:30 already. Well, it looks like this might be the end of the stream, because it looks like the dancers are home. Yep. So I think for now I will say thank you for watching. We will be back on Saturday with a quieter version of Oakfield Farm. Kids aren't open this weekend. Yeah.
Hello guys.
And it's now time for me to do supper and stuff. So, as I said, thank you for watching, and have a good evening, and I'll be back on Saturday. For now, I'm out of here.